legionnaire.
Not a legionnaire.
I'm a gladiator.
The year was 2000, and Ridley Scott, at the pinnacle of his career as a filmmaker, decided to give us the harrowing story of Maximus, the Roman general, in his movie Gladiator. After the movie ended, if you're like me, you must have wondered what happened to Lucius Verus II, the young 8-year-old boy who Maximus died protecting. Well, in today's video, we'll be unraveling the story of Lucius Verus II. So get cozy and get some snacks and get onto it. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Lucius in Gladiator? Gladiator is a movie that everyone should at least watch once in their life. The fantastic production design, detailed sets, and the gut-wrenching story is truly an experience to behold. Not once will you feel like you're bored in this almost 3-hour-long saga. However, I do understand if, in your busy life, you don't have the time to sit down for this movie. So let me give you the shortened version of the story. The movie starts off with the brutal war scene. The soldiers are seen preparing themselves to fight for Rome and for their glory, and their general is the motivating Maximus Decimus Meridius, played by Russell Crowe. You can see that despite being a high-ranking general with several victories under his belt, he's not at all arrogant. He moves through the crowd of soldiers like he's just another soldier, a brother-at-arms, and not a pompous leader. He guides his men through the formations like a sailor navigating the treacherous waters in the midst of a stormy night, and who would have thought? He comes out victorious. The victory in Vindobona against the German barbarians is one with a lot of bloodshed, and Maximus knows that. He never once focuses simply on the joyous feeling of being victorious. He's worried about his men, wounded and bleeding in the snowy weather. Marcus Aurelius, the Caesar of Rome, is at the battlefront with him, and the way these two speak, you can clearly see they have quite the bond between them. Richard Harris does an amazing job of portraying the dying Caesar, who, despite his failing health, wanted to be with his men, in the cold winter instead of being in the comfort of his palace. Once the war is over and congratulations are on the way, Commodus and Lucilla, Marcus' 2 children, show up at the base camp. Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is arrogant and ambitious. He wants the throne and he's willing to do anything for it. Even though he didn't fight the war, he didn't sit through the cold nights waiting for the barbarians to attack. He joins his father like he did. Marcus' disdain, although subtle, is very evident. He doesn't think Commodus is good enough to be the emperor. If Lucilla hadn't been born a woman, Marcus would have been more than happy to give her the throne. But as that was not possible, he decided to look out of the bloodline. The only person he thinks would be able to bring Rome back to its full glory is Maximus, the only one who's never been corrupted by politics. As Marcus and Maximus discuss the topic of the latter ascending the throne, you can understand why Marcus chose Maximus. Maximus only cares for the betterment of Rome. He wants what's best for Rome and he cares about the people. Marcus knew that if Commodus ascended the throne, he would want to be an emperor and dissolve the Senate, which would be incredibly bad for the people. Maximus is truly the best choice. Maximus, however, is not very accepting of the idea. He has never thought about running an empire. He only wanted to return to his home, to his wife and son, after everything was over. So obviously, he's very shocked to hear it. Before he can give Marcus an answer though, Marcus is killed by none other than Commodus. When Commodus hears that his father wanted to give Maximus the throne instead, Commodus could not bear it. Joaquin's acting in this particular scene really makes you feel for him. Commodus always felt unseen, unloved, and underappreciated by his father. He didn't possess the virtues of a great emperor that his father mentioned, but Commodus always felt like he had other virtues that his father overlooked. Seeing Commodus break into tears, Marcus tries to comfort his son by giving him a warm hug. But this hug would be his last, as Commodus suffocates him to death in his arms. When Maximus came to Marcus' room, upon hearing his passing away, he found Commodus waiting for him there. Commodus wanted Maximus to take his hand and promise him loyalty. When Maximus refused, Commodus had Quintus, Max's friend, seize him with the Praetorian guards. He was sentenced to be executed. Maximus is okay with dying, but when he hears that Commodus has also sent people to kill off his wife and son, he decides to fight back. He manages to defeat the executioners and flees on horseback, hoping to reach his wife before the Praetorian guards do. But alas, he was a bit too late. Maximus returns to his pink-stoned house, which smells of jasmine at night, only to find it destroyed. His wife and son crucified in front of the main gate, dead. Maximus buries them and passes out on their graves. He thinks of his life the way it should have been, only to wake up and find himself caged. Turns out he was taken in as a slave. Eventually, he ends up in the hands of Oliver Reed, who plays the cold-hearted Proximo. Proximo forces Maximus to train as a gladiator, and even though Maximus initially shows no interest in fighting, he eventually gets used to it. He fights, he kills, and he stays quiet. His swift attacks, close defenses, and the brutality of the kills soon catapult him into glory. Known as the Spaniard, Maximus is hailed as a champion. On the other hand, Commodus, now the emperor, wishes to dissolve the Senate and be the one to rule it all. But Lucilla, who's much better at understanding what's best for the empire, works with Senator Gracchus to stop him in whatever way she can. To win everyone's favor, favor, Commodus decides to hold a 150-day game in which Proximo and his gladiators join. Here, Lucius Vernus II, son of Lucilla and nephew of the Emperor, decides to come visit his hero, the Spaniard. At first, Maximus thinks nothing much of the curious young boy, but when he hears his name, he realizes that he's none other than Lucilla's son. The games begin. It was supposed to be a retelling of the Battle of Zama, and the gladiators who were playing the barbarians were supposed to lose. But thanks to Maximus' swift commanding, he managed to win the game. Commodus, as the Emperor, decided to come and greet the champion himself. You can imagine his shock when he finds out the man standing in front of him, very much alive, is none other than the man he ordered to be killed on his first day as Emperor. The Emperor is angry to say the least. He tries to get Maximus killed in the arena by having him fight Tigris of Gaul, an undefeated gladiator, but Maximus survives the fight. On top of that, even when the Emperor declared that Tigris needed to die, Maximus chose to spare Tigris, which earned him the moniker Maximus the Merciful. With the crowd loving him so much, Commodus was angry. When he saw young Lucius playing pretend with the guards, calling Maximus the savior of Rome, Commodus realized that the problem with Maximus was far more deeply rooted than he initially thought it was. Commodus effectively took Lucius hostage and forced Lucilla to spill the beans about everything she and Maximus had been planning. Holding her son over her head, Commodus destroyed whatever hope Maximus had of escaping the gladiator ring and getting his very own army. After Maximus was caught trying to escape, he was taken prisoner. Commodus came down to see him and told him that to make an example of him, today he would be fighting the Emperor himself. But the treacherous Commodus knew that he would not be able to win the game fair and square, so he wounded Maximus in the back with a dagger before ordering Quintus to put on the armor, ensuring the wound remained hidden. Despite the deep wound, Maximus went into the arena and clashed swords with Commodus. Eventually, Maximus managed to disarm Commodus. Commodus expected his guards to throw him a sword for the unfair advantage, but Quintus decided to be the man Maximus knew he was. He refused to help the Emperor. Commodus, seeing no choice, pulled out the dagger he stabbed Maximus with and attacked him, but Maximus was far too powerful in comparison to Commodus. Even on his dying breath, he managed to twist Commodus' hand around and stab him through his neck, killing the Emperor for good. With the fight taking almost all of him, Maximus barely managed to reinstate the imprisoned senators and give the power back to Lucilla and Lucius before falling to the ground. In his last breath, all he could say to Lucilla was, "Lucius is safe." And that is how our brave gladiator breathed his last, after making right all the wrongs Commodus had done. Such a harrowing tale. I cannot recommend this movie enough, to be honest. Now to answer the question we started this video off with. Lucius Verus II is the son of Lucilla and Lucius Verus. In the movie, we learn that Lucius Verus passed away a few years ago, and now Lucius lives with his mother and uncle. He's the co-ruler of the Roman Empire, but as he's just a child, it's pretty much all of Commodus' rule. During Commodus' reign in Rome, Lucilla was afraid that Commodus would target her son, and she was right. When Commodus realized that Lucilla had been helping Maximus, he doubled down on hurting Lucius. Commodus wanted Lucilla to give him a pure-blood heir who would rule Rome for the next generations to come, and if Lucilla disobeyed him, Lucius would be the one paying the price for her disobedience. In contrast, we see how Maximus behaves when he's around Lucius. When Commodus came to congratulate him after his first victory in the retelling of Battle of Zama, Maximus picked up an arrowhead, hoping to kill Commodus with it. However, when he saw Lucius with him, he decided not to do that, to save the child from that trauma. Spencer Trent Clark did a wonderful job as young Lucius. You could see the fear and confusion he felt when he realized that while his uncle was seemingly telling him a story, it was somehow affecting his mother. Is he related to Maximus? One of the most gut-wrenching scenes in the entire movie has to be when Maximus comes to find his wife and son dead. Obviously, since we love Maximus' character, we all wanted him to have someone in his life. Someone to call his own. There are several implications throughout the movie, such as Lucilla and Maximus having a love affair at some point. Lucilla, even at one point, said that Commodus was jealous of Maximus, not only for having Marcus' love, but also because he had Lucilla's love too. Throughout the movie, we can see Lucius idolizing Maximus quite a bit. Maximus is his hero, and he even pretends to be a gladiator because of Maximus. However, it was never quite confirmed in the original movie that Lucius and Maximus are related in any way, shape, or form. Then came 2006. In an interview, Ridley Scott was discussing what he wanted to do for the Gladiator sequel. Obviously, they can't bring Maximus back after his very obvious and soul-crushing death. That's when Ridley Scott said that the story will follow the next generation of Gladiator, as in the son Maximus and Lucilla had. Although there have been several rewrites since then, as fans, we have a very strong feeling that this plot thread of Lucius Verus II actually being Maximus' son may have survived. That would be a very neat way to connect these two films together, especially now that almost 25 years have gone by since the first movie. What happened to him after the movie? With the release dates coming closer, more and more information about the upcoming movie is coming out, and oh boy, we love how the story is going. So in Gladiator 2, we will be following Lucius, who just came home to Rome after a long time, and ends up getting into political conflicts. But why was he sent away? Well, after the events of Gladiator, Lucilla decided that the best way to protect her son from everything would be to send him away to Numidia in Africa. Lucius was sent there when he was still a young boy, and he came of age there. His time there hardened him as a man, and made him a skilled warrior. He even started his very own family there, which he would end up leaving behind when he would have to come back to Rome. Sounds very much like what his father had to do, doesn't it? Now, while we understand that Lucilla did this to protect Lucius from the corrupt politicians and the ascension of twin brothers, Emperor Caracalla and Emperor Geta, this decision still caused a rift between the mother and the son. Role of Lucius in Gladiator 2. The movie, albeit more than 20 years late, is supposed to pick up a few years right after the events of Gladiator. Lucius is now a skilled warrior and a family man, living his quiet life in Numidia, when suddenly, troops from the Roman Empire descend upon them. Led by Pedro Pascal's Marcus Acacius, this contingency managed to overtake the shore of Numidia and Lucius as their prisoner. He's brought back to Rome, where, like Maximus, he's forced to fight for his life like a gladiator. Then in the very first round in the arena, Lucius will look in the royal box, and who does he see there? His mother, sitting next to the man who ripped him away from his family. It's clear that Acacius is Lucilla's new lover, and Lucius challenges Acacius to the arena, starting a series of bloody fights to the top. Talk about family drama. It's revealed that despite Maximus' words, the Empire did not return to Republic. Instead, the conniving snake of corruption infiltrated the bosom of Rome and wrapped around it tightly, slowly draining the life away. The twin emperors, Caracalla and Geta, ruled the Empire with iron fists, draining and corrupting everything they laid their eyes on, and this reality made Lucius angrier. With this exciting premise, we can hardly wait for the movie release in November to know the full story. Real-life inspiration of Lucius. While one might think that the story told in The Gladiator is more fiction than reality, the pieces of reality are still there. In real life, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus were co-emperors of Rome. This means that Lucius Verus II, who very much existed by the way, was a strong contender for the throne due to his bloodline. However, rather tragically, Lucius Verus II died at a very young age, even younger than what we see in the movie. Actually, all of Lucilla's children, except Pompeians from Lucilla's second marriage, died at a young age. But Lucius actually died even before Commodus became king. If you look at the story, you would see that right after Commodus' death, it was the year of 5, where 5 men were fighting for the title of emperor. If Lucius had lived for that long, he would still have been far too young for this fight, and he would have been an easy target for the challengers. Historically, the one who became emperor out of these 5 was Septimus Severus. Perhaps in Gladiator 2, we shall see Septimus Severus take the throne as the emperor after Lucius defeats Caracalla and Geta, even though he deserves the throne the most. Marvelous verdict. As a fan of the original movie, I for one am super excited to see the second movie. With Paul Mescal taking on the role of Lucius Verus II, I'm interested in seeing where this movie will go. The first movie is not super accurate with the historical facts, and I'm not expecting this one to be either. I'm here to be entertained, because if the crowd loves you, you get to live, right Proximo? Let us know what you think about this movie down in the comments, and until next time, take care. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!